Hey, what's going on, everyone? Eman here from the C-List Villains podcast. And today, we're talking new comic book picks for April 7th, 2021. On this week's show, I actually have another guest from the community. That's right. I ended up hanging out with Jennifer from Comics Will Break Your Heart on Instagram. She came by and kicked it with me, and we were talking about our top 3 picks for New Comic Book Day on April 7th. I wonder what Jen's picks were this week. Come and kick it with us. How long have you been collecting?
So I would say that I've been reading for a lot longer than I've been collecting. I have been an avid reader since I can remember when I was a child, but I really started getting into comic books when I was in high school, so probably about 20 years now. But I feel like, yeah, I did start off. I remember a couple years ago, I just had like 1 or 2 short boxes, and now it's a lot more than that. And I have a tiny little apartment, so it's full of books.
Let's get things started. Forget that. Let's get right into it. Hey, Jen, thank you so much for joining me on my new comic book day pick for April 7th, 2021. I've seen your Instagram. It is awesome. We're going to let you plug that later on today. I hope that we have at least one book that we could share. And if we're not, hey, forget it. We're going to be sharing our love for books with other people. How about that? Yes. Does that work?
Sounds amazing.
Perfect. All right, so Jen, let's start with number 1. What is your first pick for New Comic Book Day, April 7th, 2021?
Yes, so my first pick that I'm really excited about is a number 1 from Image Comics. It's The Silver Coin, and it has been pinned as a story about these musicians and this curse. Chip Zdarsky is involved in the process, and I am really excited because I'm a really big fan of Chip Zdarsky, and I'm a really big fan of Image Comics, so I'm excited to pick up The Silver Coin.
That's awesome. And you know what? That book right there caught my eye also because of Chip Zdarsky. And Chip Zdarsky's doing fantastic work right now with Daredevil and with Stillwater, so it's a good one. I love it. I'm actually going to pick that one up myself.
Yeah, I think that there's a couple of cool variants. I can't recall like who exactly the artists are for who are doing the variants, but I know that I'm just going to end up spending all the money and buying up every variant that I can get for that book.
We're not supposed to, but yeah, it's probably going to happen. Yeah. How many comic books did you buy today? These are the ones that I'm reading.
Yeah.
And then you have like the little pile over here of your variant. A whole box of you have a whole long box of variants.
Like technically I only picked up like 10 titles, but I picked up like 30 comics total, but it was only 10 titles, so you know, who's counting?
Right. All right, well, let me get into my number 1 pick. Geiger, number 1, written by Jeff Johns, arts by Gary Frank, colorist Brad Anderson. This is the superstar lineup right here. This is Jeff Johns' first creator-owned property, and this is his vision now. He gets to do whatever he wants and writes whatever he wants, and I'm kind of excited for that. He doesn't have to stay to the DC rules. He's got his own rules, and I want to see what an unhinged Jeff Johns does. So let me read a little bit about this one right here. Who are the scavengers of a dying Earth? Geiger is set in the years since a nuclear war ravaged the planet. Desperate outlaws battle for survival in a world of radioactive chaos. Out past the poison wasteland lives a man, even the Nightcrawlers, an organ people fear. Some call him Joe Glow, others call him the Meltdown Man, but his name is Geiger. I am interested. I'm all about that. This sounds, it could even go into the realm of it sounds terrible and cheesy or just frightening and crazy. I'm all about it.
Now that you say that, I hope that they do lean into that, where they lean into the little bit of wackiness. At least that's my hope, because I think that whenever things end up kind of being a little bit wacky unintentionally, like I'd rather that you just lean in fully to it and just give us some weirdness.
Almost going into a Toxic Avenger kind of a feel. That would be fun. Now, here's the thing about Geiger. Now, I'm going to let you guys know a little secret about me. I'm irrationally afraid of radioactive activity, fallout, stuff like that. I have a fear for it. My best friend works at a nuclear power plant. So if like all of this freaks me out so much. However, whenever there's like some kind of special on Netflix or a comic book that deals with Fallout, radioactivity, the video game Fallout, my weird mind tends to gravitate towards the thing that I fear the most, which is super odd. So that's one of the reasons why I actually went with Geiger.
Isn't it supposed to be like if you're afraid of something, just immerse yourself in it? So don't psychologists, like if you have a fear of, if you're like agoraphobic, they maybe put you through a video simulation of like going outside. So it's kind of like that, like you're facing your fears.
I think that's what it is. Like I have to read about it to face it. All right, Jen, number 2. What is your number 2 pick for New Comic Book Day, April 7th, 2021?
So my second pick is going to have to be Swamp Thing. I'm a really big fan of Swamp Thing. This limited 10-issue run, it's written by Ram V, who I'm a very big fan of. Of course, I got the variant cover for issue number 1, and I am really excited to see where this goes. It's post future state, so it's kind of like a clean slate after these events. We are getting to see a new Swamp Thing that's not like the Alec Holland or anyone that we're used to. So I'm really excited to see what Ram V is bringing to this story. So issue number 2 comes out this next week.
I never read any of the Swamp Things, and I picked up the 2 future state Swamp Things because I'm all right, you know what, clean slate, let's start over. I know of Swamp Thing. I grew up in the 80s, so I remember the 80s movie Swamp Thing, you know, and I'm like, you know what, let's get it. That was one of my favorite movies growing up. I picked up future state's Swamp Thing, and it blew me away. This is such a good read, and I think Ram V did that one too, right?
Yep, they did. And they also did Justice League Dark, which was a little bit kind of mixed in there with the future state titles. And Ram V also did one of my favorite books last year, Blue and Green, which was published by Image Comics. So I'm just a really big fan, and I'm excited to see what they're doing with it.
It's gonna be awesome. That one's also on my pull. I didn't pick up number 1, but I am going to now because, well, number 1, because of you went ahead and convinced me to get Swamp Thing. But number 2, because I did actually like the future state Swamp Thing. Look, might as well continue on that and get on that journey and see what happens. A couple of my books are going to be ending real soon, so I need some to kind of fill the holes anyway. So
exactly.
All right.
What's your next pick?
Hey, that's what we're going to do. We're going to do my number 2 pick. I like how you did that. Great segue. I love it. All right. Well, my number 2 pick is actually coming from Boom Studios. I love this book. I just have to say it's just pure action, pure anime style. AJ from my podcast, the C-List Villains podcast, went ahead and introduced this book to us, and I've been riding this wave with him since he introduced it to us. This is 7 Secrets number 7. Love, love, love this book, what it's doing. It's just pure adrenaline action, and I think it's well written. Written by Tom Taylor, artist is by Daniele De Nicolo. I hope I pronounced that right.
You gave a best effort.
I did. And you know what? Here's the funny thing. I actually went on YouTube just to see how it was pronounced. That's what I try to do with the names. I'll go on YouTube to see how people pronounce them, like at cons. And I did my absolute best with this one.
Preview should have a pronunciation guide for all of those.
I agree. Yes. Colorist is by Bengal, like Cher or McLovin. Bengal. Another case has been opened, and with it, a new path revealed. Casper and the remaining members of the Order have managed to escape the world of fairy, but are they truly safe? The ending of number 6 was awesome. We got to see what happens when one of these cases open up. Now, if you're not reading Secrets, 7 Secrets, it's pretty much revolved around an order that protect these 7 secrets, and you're not supposed to open these suitcases, which include the secret, and if you do, bad things happen. I'll go ahead and spoil it. In the last book, something bad happened. Spoiler alert, something happened, and it's like, oh my god, wow, like I need to be on this ride right here. It's beautifully drawn by Daniele. It's wonderfully written by Tom, and Bengal is just doing a fantastic job with the coloring of the book. It looks, like I said, it looks like an like anime, and I love everything about what this book is about. So Seven Secrets number 7, Boom Studios, my number 2 pick.
You know, I picked up issue number 1 of Seven Secrets and I did not love it. Normally I give a book a couple of different issues, and that one I seem to drop after the first issue, and I'm so sad that I did, because my friend Mars, that comic girl who we do a show every Sunday, that's one of her favorite books. Tom Taylor is one of her favorite writers, and I'm like, man, I feel so bad I haven't picked this up. I think the trade comes out either next week or sometime this upcoming month, so I'm definitely going to be reading that trade and probably picking up issue number 7 as well.
All right, number 3. Jen, what is your number 3 pick for New Comic Book Day, April 7, 2021?
So my next pick, and this is one that I once again loved, issue number 1, and that is Hollow Heart. Apparently theme for me is monster boyfriends, because this book is about a monster that's been Frankensteined into a like robot form, and he's trying to escape, basically trying to die. So Hollow Heart number 2 comes out next week, and I really just want to see where this goes. I really have a thing for monsters, I guess, because Swamp Thing was another one of my picks, and now going with Hollow Heart. This one's actually published by Vault Comics, which I think is a little bit of an underrated publisher for comics. Most of their books have been absolute hits for me. I've been loving what Vault Comics has been doing. I also, we were talking about variant covers. I picked up the variant cover, David Mack cover for issue number 1, and it's just absolutely beautiful. Can't wait to see what happens with my monster boyfriend in this upcoming issue.
Now, I picked up number 1 myself, and the cover A for Hollow Heart is gorgeous. It looks beautiful. That monster element and the guy who's trying to help him. For me, I tried to get into it. I picked it up because I wanted to read it. It looked great. I read what it was about. I don't know, it just didn't flow for me. Right. And then the art, I thought the art was okay in it. I was expecting a little bit more with the art, based off of the cover. And I guess you can't really judge a book by its cover anyway. You're not supposed to. Don't do that. Don't judge a book by its cover. Learn that the hard way on a couple of books. There's some books that didn't look good in the front, and I found out that they were amazing reads. Like, don't do it, pick it up no matter what, and try and see what happens, you guys. But
I think that for Hollow Heart, the biggest complaint that I did hear from people was the interior artwork definitely was lacking from like the vibrant colors of the covers. But I really loved this story, and I really want to know what happens with Elle, because they basically just want to die, but I think that there's going to be a love story between him and Mateo. At least I hope so. So I really love this story that Paul Aller, I believe their name is doing with this.
It does feel like that. It does feel like it's going to go towards that love story, it's just great. I love that right there. I'm just hoping it just hits a little bit harder with the storytelling in number 2. I was going to skip it, Jen, but because of this show, again, now you've convinced me to pick up Hollow Heart number 2 on top of Swamp. Man, look at that. You're on a roll. Look at you. Boom. Just like
my
that.
job here is done. I can go home now.
Mic drop. All right, well, let me get into my number 3. So my number 3 pick is going to Fear Case number 3. Matt Kent, Tyler Jenkins, Hillary Jenkins. I didn't know what I was getting into with this book, and I read the first one off of a recommendation. Wow, I loved the weird, eerie feel behind it. I loved the Men in Black meets I don't know, some other kind of weird fantastical thing going on. Like the Secret Service is involved, but like, why? This is the one thing that really trips me out about this book. Is you're following these 2 detectives who work for a police force. However, you find out that they're working for the Secret Service, which is still confusing to me because I thought the Secret Service was all about protecting the President of the United States. But it's gone into a different direction with this one right here. So let me read a little bit about it. As Agents Winters and Mitchum hunt down the supernatural murder box known as the Fear Case, their trail goes off course, and the powers and kill list of the case grow higher. This is a 4-issue book We are on issue number 3. I'm hoping that we get more answers and a great lead into a smash ending with this book right here. I really like the first 2, and I'm on board with the third one. And Matt Kent I trust at the moment. So
I think that Matt Kent has been doing a lot of great things because, like, yes, they're doing Fear Case right now. They're also doing another book by Dark Horse called Crimson Flower, which has been a little bit of an underrated hit for me. But Fear Case, man, you hear the premise of it, and it's basically like someone gets a briefcase and something weird happens, like you either have to give it to the person you love the most or hate the most, and it could honestly just be so gimmicky, but it really does deliver. It's a really fun premise, and it's a really great story.
Exactly. Very, very X-Files-ish.
Yeah.
There's a lot of weird conspiracy X-Files-ish type books that have come out as of late, and I'm seeing a pattern. I'm seeing that horror books and conspiracy type theory books have come to the front of comic book readers as of late, and I'm all about it. Hey, look, it's entertaining me. I love it. Let's go on it. Let's get on this ride and let's do it.
For sure, especially with Department of Truth. Like when I think about conspiracy theories, like, man, Department of Truth is incredible.
Yes,
I heard that it goes into issue number 7 goes into aliens, and maybe the same way that you do not like nuclear fallout. I'm not afraid of ghosts. I'm not afraid of monsters. I'm not afraid of slashers. I am afraid of aliens so much because I believe they're real. And I heard that issue number 7 does go into aliens, so we'll see how I come out after reading issue number 7.
It does bring up the topic of alien abduction. So Geiger to me is what Department of Truth issue number 7 is to Jen. So I think we're gonna need to face our fears with this. Maybe this is a fear-centric episode, not just an indie fear-centric episode. We're just gonna face our fears with that one right there. Jen, thank you so much for hanging out with me. This was a short video, but I think we accomplished a lot.
We did too.
I mean, I know we just met, and I would love to do more stuff with you. Jen, go ahead, plug your socials, let people know how they can find you.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it so much. You mentioned thank you. You mentioned being strangers, and I honestly feel like after this past year, my best friends are strangers on the internet. So I really appreciate you having me on and letting me be a stranger friend, a friendly stranger. You can find me on Instagram, Comic Books Will Break Your Heart. However, you can find me, I do shows on YouTube under Comics Will Break Your Heart. A little nod to Jack Kirby there. So you can find me on my channel with Mars every Sunday, and we talk about New Comic Book Day. We talk about things that are coming up. This month, at the end of the month, we do like a recap of all of the first issues, first appearances, things like that came out during the month. So that's what we'll be doing this Sunday.
Perfect. Can't wait. I love your show. I've watched it a few times. I'm like, hey, I'm with you on that book. I'm with you on that book. Hey, you didn't like that book? Wait a minute here. and that's the great part of what we do, is we're going to share with people what we like and what we don't like. We're going to disagree, and it's all right. We all have our differences. We all have our own ways of curating our books, but we all enjoy comic books nonetheless. And that's what this community is about. It's about growing that, getting people to read and enjoy other comic books they may otherwise have missed out on. Swamp Thing and Hollow Heart. There you go. See, Swamp Thing, you guys. I think it's underrated. Pick up on that one. I'm going to pick up issue 1 and 2. Jen, thank you so much for hanging out with me. Now, everyone, remember, I do co-host the C-List Villains podcast. Brand new episodes do come out every Saturday. We also have a YouTube channel. Go check us out. We have interviews with Ross Ritchie, with Aaron Bartling, with John Jang out there. You can find our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app. Now, remember, C-List Villains, cultivators of the comic culture. All right, everyone, until the next issue, deuces.